Hi. I wanted to do another video, and I'm trying to get situated here, so bear with me. I wanted to do this video. I was looking up information on reasonably regulate. What does it mean? When they said that the states have the right to reasonably regulate the roads, what does that mean? I was thinking that people would be smart and understanding this, but apparently they're not. The roads that travel throughout the United States, at least in the United States itself, the roads within the United States, those are our roads, the citizens of each state. And each state connects with each other through roads. Unless you're in Alaska or you're in Hawaii, then those don't connect by roads. Those connect by waterways, or you could probably take a road to go into Alaska. But as far as the states within the United States, they are our roads that we allow the states to take care of for us. We put the roads in their hands, in their capable hands, and we say, take care of them for us, and it's up to them to figure out how to take care of them. Now, originally, drivers, such as truck drivers, such as taxi cab drivers, anybody that was using our roads, you and I, anybody that was using our roads to make money had to pay for that privilege. And because it is a privilege. Our roads are for moving from place to place, to go to the store, to go to the gas station to get gas, to go to school, to drop off our kids, go to work. We use those roads to do that, and then you got people that want to use the roads to make money off of, and when that happens, the roads have to get repaired somehow, because the vehicles that are making money, the drivers that are driving for someone that are making money on our roads, are putting undue stress and strain on the roads, and they got to get repaired. Originally, the licenses, the special licenses that were used, hold on. Okay, the special licenses that were used, the money from that was to do the upkeep on the roads. Well, the states figured that they could make more money by turning everybody into a driver, and this is what they did. And on their part, it was very slick, but on our part, it was very bad, because we got screwed over really, really horrible. When they took the federal definition of driver, they took the federal definition of motor vehicle, and they turned the motor vehicle, they took that, and they well, let me look it up real quick. Federal definition, hold on. Of driver. Okay. Okay, I'm here. I'm having a hard time finding the law. I don't want the lawful path. I want Cornell's definition. See, they've even changed a few things by saying that they even changed commercial vehicle. They even changed vehicle, motor vehicle, and added the term commercial to that. And I'm trying to find U.S. legal definitions and legal. They're going to try to tell you that legal definition of motor vehicle, a vehicle. Okay, let me get down here. That's 40. Okay, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Now, my video is going to be a little choppy, and I apologize for that. I don't have the editing software to clean this up, and a lot of times when people do videos like this, they just pull everything together and they cut out pauses and things. I don't do that because I like it to have more of a real feel, sort of like if you're right in front of me and we're talking. Okay, here it says 18 U.S. Code, subsection 31, definitions. Definitions in this chapter, the following definitions apply. Now, they're going to tell you that this is in regards to theft or thievery or taking parts from one state and illegally selling them in another state. That's what they're going to tell you. But I think the federal government knew what they were doing when they stuck these definitions in here, and I'll explain why. Because of the way they put it in here, they put a definition of motor vehicle, and then they also put a definition of for commerce. So, in the definitions, 1, aircraft. It gives you the definition of aircraft. 2, aviation quality. 3, destructive substance. 4, in flight. A, B, it talks about different things. Now 5, service, in service. Then it has A and B. And then 6, motor vehicle. Now, pay very close attention to this because it's going to say the term motor vehicle means every description of carriage or other contrivance. Now, they put the word contrivance in there, and that's very, very, very important. And you're going to ask me why it's very important, because the federal government realized that when something is built, when a factory builds something, they don't just do generic. They don't do generic. And the state has figured out a way to get around this, and I'll explain that in a minute. But the term motor vehicle means every description of carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highways and the transportation of passengers and property, or property and cargo. Now, I'm going to ask you, what in this definition that I just gave you of motor vehicle, what in that definition does it deal with parts that could be sold from one state into another illegally? Nothing. There is nothing. But it does tell you the legal definition of what a motor vehicle is. Regardless of what the states want you to think a motor vehicle is, this is the federal definition. The term motor vehicle means every description of carriage and or contrivance. Now, what does the word contrivance mean, and why did they put that word in there? The word contrivance means a thing which is skillfully or inventively created for a particular purpose. A motor vehicle is a contrivance, and it was created for commerce. A motor vehicle was created for commerce. It says that it's used for commercial purposes on the highways, and commercial purposes is very, very important, and I'll explain why in a minute. For commercial purposes on the highways and the transportation of passengers, passengers and property, or property and cargo. Now, regardless of what anybody tells you, that U.S. 18 Code subsection 31 definitions, regardless of what anybody tells you, the federal government has given you a legal definition of what motor vehicle is. Now, that goes all the way down into 6. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 6. It says motor vehicle. Now it says here, and used for commercial purposes. Now, you got number 7 right after that, right after motor vehicle, 7, parts. The term part means a frame, assembly, component, appliance, engine, propeller, material part, spare part, pieces, sections, related, integral or auxiliary equipment. And that deals with aviation, not motor vehicle. Now, when in number 6 it says motor vehicle, commercial purposes, remember that term, commercial purposes. 7 is part. 8, space vehicle. That's talking about aircraft. That's talking about aircraft. That's talking about helicopters. It says the term space vehicle means a man-made device, either manned or unmanned, designed to operate beyond the Earth's atmosphere. That's talking about in the sky. Now, 9 is state. The term state means a state of the United States, the District of Columbia, and any other Commonwealth territory or possession of the United States. Now, remember in number 6 it says motor vehicle, and then it also says commercial purposes. Now, all the way down in 10, which is separated by 7, 8, and 9. Why is it separated? Because it doesn't want to intentionally draw attention to what it's done. The federal government has stuck this in there to give you the definition of motor vehicle, and it says in number 10, and used for commercial purposes. It tells you the definition of commercial purposes. It says the term used for commercial purposes means the carriage of persons or property for any fare, fee, rate, charge, or other considerations, or directly or indirectly in connection with any business or other undertaking intended for profit. Now, that's number 10. Now, why isn't number 10 right under number 6? Why isn't used for commercial purposes, why isn't that number 7? You would think that they would have done that like that. Well, they didn't. The federal government did that on purpose because they wanted to distract you from understanding what number 6 was. When they did that, it's like they wanted to tell you the federal definition, and anybody smart enough to understand this would catch it. Anybody that wasn't very smart would not catch it. Number 6 is motor vehicle, and number 10 is used for commercial purposes, which explains number 6. When number 6 says contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highways and the transportation of passengers and property, or property and cargo. And then down in 10 it says the term commercial purposes is used for, the term used for commercial purposes means the carriage of persons or property for any fare, fee, rate, charge, or other consideration, or directly or indirectly in connection with any business or other undertaking intended for profit. Now, this is how the state gets around that. When a car comes off the assembly line, it is an automobile. If it's created to be an automobile. And I know this because I have spoke to several insurance companies. AAA, I've spoke to Allstate, and they have told me that when you get auto insurance, they will insure your automobile depending on what it is. When I had my minivan, my 2001 Windstar, Ford Windstar minivan, they told me that my Windstar was not large enough to be classified as a motor vehicle, a motorized vehicle. It wasn't wide enough, it wasn't long enough, and it was 2 feet too short going upwards. It was 2 feet too short. They said that that's why it was classified as an automobile, because that's what it was created for. It was created to be in the automobile class because it's small. An automobile is a pleasure vehicle, or a vehicle that is used for personal uses, that is not used for commercial purposes. Although you can do commercial purposes with a minivan, it was not created for that. Just as a semi-truck was created to do commercial purposes, you can use it for personal and not make any profit off of it. You could drive it around like a regular truck. I don't know why anybody would do that, but they can. Now, this is how the state gets around that. Back in the day, and I remember this because my dad worked for Chrysler outside of St. Louis in Fenton, Missouri. And at that time, they had showrooms. And you could go up to the factory and you could buy a car at the dealer, at the factory. You could buy a car at the factory and drive it off the showroom floor and take it home. And they would give you the MCO, which is the Manufacturer's Certificate of Origin. Then the states started to get a little frustrated with that because they weren't making money off of, they weren't making a lot of money off of the titles. Now, when you get an automobile with the MCO, that's the original title to that automobile. That's what the factory gives you when the car is done, or the truck is done, or the van is done. That is a manufacturer certificate of origin. They send those, when they send cars overseas, they send those overseas, and that's the title to the automobile. Now, the state has made it to where a dealer has to send the MCO to the state. The state takes that MCO, and the state turns around and microfishes it. The state microfishes the title, or the MCO. They microfiche the MCO. Then they turn around and they print you a copy with the term motor vehicle at the top. So they have taken your automobile, they have taken your car or your truck or your van, and they have turned it into a motor vehicle. The state has taken your automobile and they have turned it into a motor vehicle. And once you apply for a title, you get the title in your name. You have then, by paying for that title, you have agreed to allow the state to turn your automobile into a motor vehicle. And since they own the original title to that, they own your automobile. Therefore, by owning your automobile, they have basically turned it from private property, which it is, when you buy it and you own it and you pay for it and you own it outright. No, you don't owe no payments on it or nothing. You own it outright. You have taken something, you have something that was private when it was built, and you were going to purchase it. It's no longer a private property automobile anymore because the state has a stake in your automobile now, so it's no longer private property. The state is partial owners of that because you have purchased a motor vehicle title from them. Now, that's how they have gotten around that. And also they say that by going to the grocery store and buying groceries, you are doing commerce. You are in the process of doing commerce with that grocery store. You're not making profit. Now, the law says, back here, the law says that you have to be in 6. It says here, it says, for commercial purposes, they're saying that you're in commerce or you're doing commercial business with companies, but they say that transportation of passengers car, okay. For commercial purposes down here it says intended for profit. Now, they say that you're profiting because the gas that you're buying is going into your car, which allows you to travel more. When you go to the grocery store and you get groceries, you're profiting from that. You are doing commerce with that store and you are making a profit by that. They have turned that against you and they have screwed you over, and most of America is totally stupid to this. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that will see this video and they will argue with me tooth and nail, but I have told you this isn't some pseudo law. This isn't something that I saw on some Rightful Path website where a bunch of hicks or a bunch of hippies have got together that just don't like driver's licenses, and they're trying to tell you that it's your right and blah blah blah. Well, the state has allowed you to turn what you have into something that you don't have. So when I say this, I basically am saying that 18 U.S. Code subsection 31 definitions, which the two definitions, that the number 6 and the number 10, number 6 and number 10 has nothing to do with anything that this is talking about. Now, I'm going to go in where it says notes. Amendments 2000. Let's see here. Motor vehicle means every description of carriage and or contrivances propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highways and the transportation of passengers and property and cargo. Destructive substance means any explosives substance. Okay, so all this stuff is dealing with things that are illegal, except for motor vehicle and the definition of commercial purpose. That's in 10. Motor vehicle is 6, and the definition of commercial purposes is number 10. Now, they can tell you whatever they want. They can tell you whatever they want, but I have told you, using the law, I have told you what that means. So it's up to you to decide for yourself if you want to give up a right, which I believe is a right, that we have the right to travel using the mode of transportation of the day. Back in the day when it was written, it was carriages. That's why it said carriages. And all contrivances of vehicles, which means that anything that's created that could be used to get us from point A to point B. Now, I'm going to end on this because I could talk forever and I can only do about a 29-minute video at top. So I'm trying to keep my videos down. But this is kind of important, I think. I did a video prior, and I'm doing this as a follow-up video going strictly from the law. I'm not saying what anybody else wrote. I'm reading you directly what the federal government, the United States federal government wrote. And if federal law trumps state law, the definition of motor vehicle and for commercial purposes, the definition of those should trump what the state tells you a motor vehicle is. The state wants a motor vehicle to be anything that's on the road that's motorized. To them, That's a motor vehicle, and 99.9% of all the citizens, 99.9% of all of the citizens in the United States, they just go with it. The federal government said that they have the right, the states have the right to reasonably regulate the roads, and they have done that. They reasonably regulate the roads with speed limits, and speed limits were not even for the regular driver, or the regular traveler. Now, we use a slang term driver. We use a slang term driver, but the slang term for driver is wrong, because unless you're carrying anybody or anything for a profit, or you're making money off of that, like I'm traveling from here to there and I'm carrying things that I'm supposed to transport, and they're paying me to transport it, then I become a driver. But the states want to take the slang term driver and turn it into a legal definition, and you can't do that. But that's what they've done. But to reasonably regulate the roads, which the states have the right to do, the driver speed limits, that was for commercial vehicles as a way to get onto our roads safely without destroying traffic. Stop signs and stuff, all of this stuff was for the commercial vehicle. Granted, it is good for us to follow it. It's good for us to stop at stoplights and for stop signs. It's good for us to travel at a certain speed. It's good for us to signal when we turn. It's good for us to do all of that stuff while we're in our automobiles, traveling from point A to point B. But that wasn't created for us. We are supposed to be able to do that on our own. But because the states have figured out a way to screw everything up and twist everything, and to screw everything up, when they have done that, then the citizens just bought it hook, line, and sinker, and they'll fight you tooth and nail until they're blue in the face and tell you that you're wrong. Even if you show them actual legal proof that you're right, they'll tell you that you're wrong. Anyway, I'm going to end on that note. This has been All Things Considered, because I consider all things. Have a good night, America, and all points beyond.